Oh, hi. I'm Owlbear Rogue. Welcome to the cave. Today I have for you a piping hot, fresh one-shot left completely unattended on the windowsill of that cottage over there. You definitely shouldn't just go take it. That would be so wrong. Some of you were kind enough to chime in on the poll I posted about what the setting should be for my next one-shot. By coincidence, the last two I did were set in a fairly realistic world, so I wanted to do something totally different, and I was blown away by the feedback I got from you all. It was very close. We'll definitely have to explore some of those other settings in the future because there was a lot of interest in them. But the winner, just by the hair on an ogre's chin, was a trading hub at the edge of the Feywild. We'll call it a Fey Bazaar. As I was designing the adventure, it struck me as a really good place to start a longer campaign. If you imagine running around a Fey Bazaar, what kind of deals could be struck? Plots uncovered, magical objects absconded with. If you're feeling a little spicy, it could also be an interesting side quest if one of your players has to miss a night. We're going to get into it a lot more, but the main goal of this adventure is to rescue a character who is part of the party and has become separated from the group. So if you have a party that is interested and consents to that kind of thing, this hapless character who has been separated from the rest of the party could belong to the person who had some totally legitimate, I'm sure, excuse for missing the game that night. I'm just saying. My players, they don't miss games. Oh no, you all weren't supposed to find out I was the villain this early. Just because I wear a hood and live in a cave, people make assumptions. Anyhow, here's the pitch for the adventure. Your party has been adventuring in a deep, dark wood, rumored to be on the edge of the Feywild. As you are making your way along a path, you encounter what first appears to be a man and his much larger wife arguing next to their cart. Where did they go wrong? How did they get so far off course? Whose fault is it? And how are they going to make it to the bazaar in time? The closer you get, you notice something seems a little strange, but before you can put your finger on it, the illusion drops, and before you is a woman with the body of an enormous spider, a cart built around her bulbous backside. With her, her tiny little husband has a few too many eyes and way too many legs. Before you can react, you feel yourself getting sleepy. Are they even bigger than they were a moment ago? Before you close your eyes, you hear, "Oh, adventurers, Alfred. They're so cute, so curious and clever. I just love adventurers. Can we keep them?" "Oh, no, darling. We already have enough pets. Please, we need to get on the road." "Couldn't we compromise, Alfred?" "I suppose so. You can keep one as a pet." "Oh, no, just one. We'll sell one and we'll eat the rest. Yes?" "Oh, you spoil me, darling." And that's the start of our adventure, friends. Breaking out of the Fey Bazaar for player characters around level 3 to 5. If you've been listening along so far and you want to play in this adventure, oh, players, I love them. They're so clever, so curious. But you have to scurry along now to your DM and see if they'll run it for you. DMs, Follow me to the bazaar. Spoilers ahead. Your players are going to wake up in little cages in the back of the caravan wagon that has been built up around the abdomen of our giant spider lady. We'll call her Alona. They're going to be small, shrunk-down versions of themselves. A big inspiration for me building this one-shot was the witch and her wagon from Neil Gaiman's Stardust. If you haven't seen and or read that, run out and do it right now. So charming, such a classic. You have some decisions to make about how you're going to mechanically have them be that small. If this is a long campaign and it's an adventure you're just throwing in to break up the usual action, then you have character stats to modify. Think about how being that small is going to affect things like dexterity and intimidation, AC and strength. That's a big one. If you are going to, as I sometimes do, just create several character sheets for your players to sit down and choose from, I think that's really ideal here. I like to do that. Again, the people that play one-shots with me are busy and they like to just sit their butt down, pick up a sheet, and start rolling dice. If, however, you do have people make characters on their own, you're definitely going to need them ahead of time to make the adjustments. And you should also be sensitive to the fact that they might not be thrilled to have spent a bunch of time creating a character that you're going to modify and make less powerful. That's why I wouldn't really recommend that scenario here. Fun, though, is that the PCs can be just about anything. All we know is that they're an adventuring party who was in a forest. So any species or class should work here. No matter how you come up with the character sheets, once everyone is sitting down to play, you're going to do something really important. You're going to introduce to them an NPC and explain that this NPC, a very charming little NPC, is one of their party members. This is what I hinted at the beginning. This party member is going to get separated, stolen away from them here in a moment. They don't know that quite yet, but we want a reason for each of them to be very interested in getting that party member back. So have each of them give you a reason why their PC is deeply connected to this particular party member. Let's get the adventure started. Alfred, Alona's little spidery husband, comes into the back of the wagon, and as your party is coming to, taking stock of their situation, he's going to grab a little cage that has their NPC party member friend in there and let Alona know that he's taking it over to Auntie Creech's to see if Auntie Creech would be interested in buying it. Oh, yes, Alona says. Auntie Creech is always so snacky. Don't be gone long, Alfred. He might gloat over the remaining party members that he'll be snacky with some of them later. And he's going to head off into the bazaar. Now, I would describe the sounds of the bazaar, of Alona starting to hawk her wares, talk to customers up at the front of the wagon. And your PCs have someone to rescue. They know that he's going to someone named Auntie Creech who is snacky. That is alarming. They know they are in danger when Alfred comes back, and they don't know how long he's going to be gone. They're locked in little cages, and Alona is not far away. In fact, they're kind of going to be walking across parts of her body if they're not careful, because she and the caravan are so much a part of each other. That's a lot. So it's time to hand the situation over to your players and see what they do with it. As a DM, you need to have populated the back of this caravan wagon with objects that they might be able to use. I would think about it being very busy, very maximalist back here. Lots of different things, some magical and some mundane. What kinds of wares would Alona have? I'm thinking spiderweb macrame. Maybe some potions and poisons, fine spider silk clothing or armor items. Optional. You could include a potion or something here that would return them to their normal size that they might be able to find. I think the adventure is more fun if they have to stay small for the whole thing, but that's totally up to you. Also optional, if you wanted to make the situation even more dire, you could include another pet of Alona's somewhere in the back of the caravan. If it were me, I would make this a very pampered, very spoiled, very ill-tempered giant toad. I like to make things hard on my players. This toad might try to eat them, it might tell on them, they might be able to bribe it if they're very charming and can speak with animals, or maybe win it over to their side, who knows? I would bake in some different ideas, different strategies here that you know would work for your players to succeed in this situation. And especially because we're putting them in a really hard spot. They're tiny, they're locked in little cages, they're in an unfamiliar setting, there's danger all around. Try to say yes as much as you can to any ideas you have. Be very supportive of anything they're trying to accomplish, any ways that they can pull this off. If they get too stuck, throw in maybe a piece of sentient furniture back there who could help them. Maybe there's an animate footstool, a prince who was turned into a footstool who can talk and help them out in exchange for their help later on down the line. This is going to play out. Hopefully it ends with them getting out of the caravan wagon and into the bazaar. They might have to do it in a hurry if Alona catches on to what's going on. Hopefully they've gotten the vibe that Alona is way more than they can handle and they should not be picking a fight directly with her. I like to make those things hinted at pretty heavily or even explicitly said if that's how I think it is for my players. Now they are free in a Fey bazaar, and you, my DM friends, get to decide what that looks like. What does a Fey bazaar from your particular brain look like? How does it feel? What are the sounds and smells? What are the different creatures walking around? What's the tone? What are they up to? Plan ahead to create atmosphere here. Sound, as always, is a big way to do that. Sometimes in situations like this, I'll have two YouTube windows open. One will be playing ambient music, and the other will be playing ambient sounds of a crowd, like a kind of a Ren Fair kind of background for something like this bazaar. You could create pre-written little descriptions of things for yourself, like you would have if this was a regular campaign book that you had bought, or roll tables with little details to throw in. Maybe you notice a beautiful elven woman walks by, and on a leash she has a bejeweled beetle the size of a soccer ball. Things like that you can pop in to give them a sense of place. You also need to decide how the NPCs are going to react to your players running around the bazaar. Are they going to ignore them? Are they going to try to catch them? Do they need to hide? Do they need to find a disguise? Do they need to sneak around? Next week, I am going to release another video with my favorite whimsical NPCs that I've created over the years. I have a little army of them that I pop into different campaigns that are so charming and fun, and they would be absolutely perfect for populating this bazaar. So enjoy making some of your own, and if you want some ideas from me, hop back on here next week and I'll give you those NPCs you can use for this adventure or any adventure. If you've watched my other one-shots, you know I like to give you options for how long this adventure is going to be. Maybe it's going to take 3 hours. Maybe it's going to take 8 hours. You know what a one-shot means to you and your players and what you've agreed on. So the part where they're exploring this bazaar and trying to find Auntie Creech's shop can be as long or as short as you want it to be. You can make it really easy for them to get intel on where Auntie Creech is, or you could have them running around for a while, making Fey pacts. Maybe they run into Alfred on his way back to the wagon. Maybe they find a mysterious magical object or uncover a plot against the Fey Queen. No matter how long it takes them to find Auntie Creech's, though, make sure you've made them feel like they really experienced this cool setting. One way or another, your players are going to find their way to Auntie Creech's magic shop. I love Auntie Creech with my whole heart. She is an Owlin storm sorcerer and one of my special NPCs I was just talking about that I throw into all different kinds of adventurers. And she has a magic shop focused on the wind and the weather and flying. Much like Alona, she is not evil, but she's a little edgy, and she is just so snacky. She's an owl, a predator. She can't help herself. Another option for how hard or long, those are words I just said, you want to make this part of the adventure. When your PCs roll up, it could be that the shop is closed already and they have to figure out how to get in. Or maybe they can sneak in behind a customer and it's pretty easy to get in. Depends on how good or bad it feels to throw a roadblock in their way at this point in the adventure. As a DM, you can feel that out. The inside of Auntie Creech's shop is full of objects that have imprisoned air elementals in them. Flying carpets and brooms, potions of gaseous form, pixie dust in little vials, cloaks of misty step, wands that cast fly, bottles with little storms trapped inside. And hanging up on a hook behind the counter is the cage with your little NPC friend that needs rescuing. It's up to your players here how they handle this. As I said, I love Auntie Creech and I hope they don't murder her. She is an Owlin storm sorcerer, so you can build her that way and pick how powerful you want her to be, what level she is. I would make her of such a level that they need to focus on cleverness and finesse and escape more than coming into direct contact with her. Just like in the wagon, you could throw another pet or a little shop assistant in here to make it more difficult. But once they get in, there's a lot of magic items laying around, and it's up to your players how they're going to get their friend, get them free, and get out the door. All right, that is our adventure with our 3 different locations. We've got the wagon, we've got the bazaar itself, wide open for them to explore, and Auntie Creech's magic shop with a little friend in it who needs a rescue. I hope you've enjoyed this adventure. As always, I'm trying to just give you a kind of a metaphorical topographical map of a story with a stylistic top to it and some peaks and valleys of action and emphasis to drive things forward structurally. And I trust you to fill in the details. I know you're a good DM. You've got this. And I know all about trust. I'm a little rogue in a cave. It's my speciality. Thank you again to everyone who voted to create this adventure. We'll explore some of those other options in the future. If you want to be included in polls and have a say in what adventures I do in the future, make sure you subscribe, check in, see what's going on. You should also subscribe because next week I am going to put out that video with different NPCs that you can use for this adventure or any campaign that you're running at home. I really think you'll enjoy that. They are some of my absolute favorites. I hope that you had fun, and as always, thank you for exploring the feminine urge to play Dungeons and Dragons with me, Owlbear Rogue.